Let us begin our journey into the heart of today's reflection. You don't need friends after 60. The Buddhist wisdom on letting go and finding inner peace. In a world that constantly encourages connection, friendship, and social presence, it may feel counterintuitive, even uncomfortable, to consider the idea that as we age, we might not need to cling to friendships in the same way we once did. Yet, from the perspective of Buddhist wisdom, this is not a loss, it is a profound and sacred shift. As we journey through life, especially after the age of 60, many of us are taught to believe that the richness of life lies in the company we keep, the networks we build, and the relationships we hold on to. Social connection has long been seen as a marker of happiness and a defense against loneliness. But what if this narrative, though comforting in our younger years, begins to shift as we enter the later seasons of life? What if, in aging, we are not meant to gather more people around us, but to release the attachments that no longer serve our deepest peace? Buddhism teaches us that all conditioned things are impermanent, anicca, and that understanding this truth is the first step toward liberation. Friendships, like all forms of connection, are impermanent. They arise, change, and sometimes fade away without warning. This isn't a failure. It is the nature of life. And when we reach our 60s and beyond, we are given an opportunity not to mourn these changes, but to sit with them gently and ask, what truly brings lasting peace of mind? Is it being surrounded by many people, or is it learning to befriend ourselves? Is it the constant pursuit of attention and belonging, or the quiet joy of presence and simplicity? The Buddha did not encourage isolation, but he did teach the power of solitude, the kind that nourishes, clarifies, and deepens our inner path. As the body ages and worldly responsibilities lessen, we are invited into a more spacious way of living, where inner stillness becomes more accessible than ever before. In this video, we will gently explore how letting go of the need for friendships in old age is not a descent into loneliness, but a return to the heart. We will reflect on the truth of non-attachment, not as a cold withdrawal, but as a warm liberation from expectations, comparison, and dependency. With the aid of real-life metaphors, compassionate storytelling, and ancient teachings from the Dhamma, we will uncover the freedom that comes not from more connections, but from fewer burdens. You'll discover how to age with grace, mindfulness, and dignity, without feeling left behind, without needing constant validation from others. Instead, you will learn how to rest in your own presence, how to find companionship in the breath, in nature, in the Dharma, and in the quiet wisdom that arises from within when the world no longer pulls at you from every direction. Whether you are already deep into this season of life, just approaching it, or walking alongside a loved one who is, the insights shared in this reflection will offer emotional clarity, gentle encouragement, and practical peace. This is not about abandoning relationships, but about transforming your relationship with need itself. It is about releasing the fear of being alone, and replacing it with the joy of being with yourself. If you are ready to walk this path with calm, compassion, and courage, stay with us. What awaits is not emptiness, but the fullness of your own awakened heart. Let us now reflect on the gentle truth behind today's section, why you no longer need to prove yourself to anyone. As we journey through the decades of life, from youth into middle age and eventually into the quiet dignity of our 60s and 70s, a subtle but powerful transformation begins to unfold. In the early years, it is natural to seek approval. From parents eager for our success, from teachers who evaluate our potential, from friends who shape our identity, and from a society that measures worth through performance, appearance, and achievement. We strive to be seen, to be respected, to fit in. We compare ourselves, set goals based on what others expect, and often tie our happiness to the opinions and reactions of those around us. This constant need to prove oneself stems from a misunderstanding deeply rooted in the illusion of a permanent self, the ego, or atta, as the Buddha called it. It is the voice that says, I must be more, I must be better, I must be seen. But as we grow older and life naturally slows its pace, Buddhist wisdom begins to whisper a different message. There is nothing left to prove. The teachings of the Buddha gently reveal that all things conditioned by causes, our reputations, our roles, even our personal identities, are impermanent and ever-changing. This realization is captured in the Dhammapada's simple yet profound truth: all conditioned things are impermanent. The roles we once played, provider, parent, leader, achiever, slowly begin to dissolve, not as a loss, but as a liberation. And with this fading of roles comes an invitation to rest in our true nature, free from performance, free from pretending. In the stillness of later life, you are no longer required to impress anyone. You are no longer beholden to competition, conformity, or chasing applause. Your worth is not dependent on how useful, attractive, or accomplished others perceive you to be. It simply is. You have lived, experienced, contributed, and survived, and now you are allowed to simply be. In Buddhist practice, this stage of life, when the noise of the world begins to quiet, is considered sacred. It is the phase of reflection, wisdom, and inner work. The Buddha encouraged such renunciation not as rejection of life, but as a deep understanding of what truly matters. Monastics leave behind worldly status not because the world is evil, but because they see through its illusions. They recognize that the chase for validation leads only to suffering, and so they choose the path of peace. In this same way, lay people too can begin to embody this path, not by shaving their heads or donning robes, but by slowly releasing the burden of external validation. You no longer need to argue to be right, explain your choices, or seek recognition. You no longer need to prove your strength, your intelligence, your success. These were tools of an earlier season. Now you step into a deeper, more grounded way of being. Now you observe. Now you listen, not to the opinions of others, but to the silence within. The Buddha said, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." These words are not a command, but a gentle reminder for those who have spent their lives looking outward. The peace you seek has always been inside you. Aging, then, is not a process of loss but a returning home to yourself. There is no need to pretend, to seek approval, or to live according to someone else's expectations. You are not here to impress, you are here to awaken. You are not here to fulfill the unfinished dreams of others, you are here to live each day in presence and grace. Imagine the freedom of no longer justifying your decisions, defending your past, or proving your worth. Imagine the relief of allowing yourself to be exactly as you are, imperfect, evolving, and fully whole. This is not selfishness, it is spiritual maturity. The more you release the need to prove yourself, the lighter your heart becomes. You begin to realize that life was never a contest, and your soul was never meant to compete. You were always enough. In your 70s and beyond, you have earned the right to live quietly, authentically, and without pretense. You owe no explanations to anyone. Your story, with all its ups and downs, is valid and worthy. And your presence, your simple, honest presence, is a gift to this world. The path of mindfulness in old age is not about checking more boxes or seeking new validation. It is about breathing deeply, walking gently, and being at peace with what is. So, as you sit with this truth, allow it to soften you. Let it quiet the restless voice within. Let it free you from the need to be seen and instead root you in the joy of seeing clearly. Because now, at this sacred stage of life, you are not here to prove anything. You are here to be. Let us now gently explore a truth that becomes clearer with age: how peace becomes more valuable than socializing. In the earlier chapters of our lives, the warmth of companionship, festive gatherings, and shared stories over meals often colored our days with joy. These experiences are not to be dismissed. They shape our humanity and deepen our sense of belonging. However, as we move gracefully into the later stages of life, particularly after 60, many begin to feel an inner shift. The longing for stimulation gives way to a quiet yearning for stillness. The laughter that once echoed through crowded rooms now gives way to the soft embrace of silence. In the eyes of Buddhist wisdom, this is not detachment from life, it is a return to life in its most natural, undisturbed form. The Buddha did not teach peace as something distant or earned through effort. Rather, he taught that peace is our original nature, revealed when the noise of the world begins to fade. As social invitations naturally lessen with age, what remains is not a void, but a sacred opening, a spaciousness that welcomes mindfulness, reflection, and inner rest. In solitude, we are offered the rare gift of presence. Mindfulness, or sati, comes alive in the quiet moments, in the sound of wind brushing through the trees, in the slow rhythm of breathing, in the golden hue of sunlight across a wall. Where once we may have sought happiness in conversation or recognition, now we find deep joy in simplicity. Socializing still holds its place, but it can also bring subtle burdens: the need to respond quickly, to engage attentively, to align with others' moods or expectations. As the heart matures, it seeks no longer to be constantly on. It seeks peace. And peace, unlike social noise, carries no weight. It does not demand or distract, it welcomes and soothes. The Buddha once said, "Just as a solid rock is not shaken by the storm, even so the wise are not affected by praise or blame." In solitude, we are no longer swayed by the tides of approval or criticism. We become like that rock, unmoved, grounded, and at ease. One real story from the Buddha's life illustrates this beautifully. In the later years of his ministry, the Buddha often withdrew from his disciples and followers to dwell in forest solitude. On one such occasion, he retreated to the Paka forest for the rains retreat, a time traditionally used for reflection and meditation. When a group of monks came seeking his advice, hoping for a sermon, they found the Buddha quietly seated beneath a tree, calm and radiant. They sat with him in silence. After some time, one monk asked, "Why does the Blessed One dwell alone, far from the community?" The Buddha replied with compassion, "Solitude is not to be feared when one knows the mind. In silence, we see clearly. In aloneness, the Dharma reveals itself." He explained that noise distracts, and society, even with its kindness, can cloud wisdom. But the forest, in its quietude, reflects the true nature of things: impermanence, interconnection, and the still peace that lies beyond craving. From that retreat, many monks returned changed, not from a formal sermon, but from witnessing the Buddha's serenity and stillness. This story reminds us that peace is not found in avoiding people, but in embracing ourselves fully when we are alone. It is a path inward, not a rejection outward. In fact, it is in this deep, undisturbed space that real compassion is born, not the rushed empathy of social obligation, but the calm understanding that flows from knowing our own hearts. As we grow older, we may find ourselves attending fewer gatherings, making fewer phone calls, or preferring quiet afternoons to lively nights. This is not loss. This is the soul realigning with what it truly needs. Peace is not passive, it is alive. It invites insight, heals emotional wounds, and allows the mind to breathe. In this sacred quiet, we are not escaping life but experiencing it more fully. We are no longer compelled to speak to fill the air, nor feel guilty for declining invitations. We begin to value moments of stillness as nourishment for the heart. The Buddha's path was never about isolation, but about clarity. And clarity often comes in silence. So if you find yourself seeking solitude more than company, preferring a soft breeze to small talk, or treasuring your inner calm more than outward excitement, know that you are not alone. You are walking a path that many wise beings have walked before. In the absence of constant socializing, you may discover the deepest relationship of all, the one you have with your own being. And that, dear listener, is where true peace blossoms. Let us now reflect on a gentle truth that becomes clearer with time: the hidden weight of unbalanced friendships and how to let go. As we journey through life, especially into our later years, we often come to realize that not all friendships are equal. Some relationships uplift and nourish us, while others quietly drain our energy and disturb our inner peace. In Buddhist teachings, every aspect of our lives, including our relationships, invites examination for their truth and impact. Friendships rooted in genuine connection bring joy and support, but those built on attachment, obligation, or imbalance can become subtle sources of suffering. The Buddha emphasized the importance of the company we keep. In the Sigalovada Sutta, he outlined the qualities of a true friend: one who is a helper, who remains the same in good times and bad, who gives good counsel, and who shows compassion. Conversely, he warned against those who bring harm, distraction, or deceit. As we age, we gain the wisdom to discern these differences more clearly. An unbalanced friendship may leave us feeling emotionally exhausted, marked by one-sidedness, manipulation, or a lack of genuine care. In our youth, we might have tolerated such relationships out of fear of loneliness or a desire for acceptance. But in our later years, the Dharma teaches us that true freedom lies in letting go of what no longer serves our well-being. Letting go does not stem from anger or rejection. It arises from clarity and compassion. Through mindfulness, we observe our feelings after each interaction. Do we feel uplifted or unsettled? At peace or in turmoil? This awareness becomes our guide. A metaphor often used in Buddhist teachings is that of the lotus flower, which blooms in muddy water yet rises above it, untouched and pure. Similarly, we can rise above relationships that cloud our inner stillness. We do not need to judge or blame, we simply step back and choose peace. Letting go is an act of compassion, not only for ourselves but also for the other person. By releasing unhealthy bonds, we create space for both individuals to grow independently. We trust that relationships meant to endure will do so naturally, without force. In this release, we find lightness. The burden of maintaining connections that no longer serve us is lifted, and our hearts become unburdened. In that space, joy quietly returns. A poignant story from the Buddha's life illustrates the importance of discerning relationships. Once, a monk named Devdatta, who was also the Buddha's cousin, sought to lead the monastic community and attempted to create a schism within the Sangha. Despite Devdatta's actions, the Buddha responded with patience and compassion, but he also took decisive steps to protect the integrity of the community. He did not allow Devdatta's harmful intentions to disrupt the harmony of the Sangha. This story teaches us that while compassion is essential, it is equally important to recognize when a relationship becomes detrimental to our well-being and to take appropriate action to preserve our inner peace. As we reflect on our own relationships, we can draw inspiration from the Buddha's example. By practicing mindfulness and compassion, we can identify unbalanced friendships and make conscious choices to let go, creating space for peace and joy to flourish in our lives. Let us now gently enter a reflection on why fewer friendships mean fewer distractions, a truth that becomes more valuable with age. As we grow older, particularly in our 70s and beyond, we begin to recognize the silent wisdom in simplification. Not only simplifying our daily routines or material belongings, but also simplifying our emotional landscape. Aging with grace means releasing what no longer serves our peace, and in the Buddhist path, distraction is seen as one of the greatest barriers to awakening. The more we reach outward, chasing noise, approval, or endless social entanglements, the further we drift from the sacred stillness of the present moment. Friendships, while often sources of joy, can sometimes become subtle distractions. They may pull us into gossip, comparison, expectations, or unnecessary drama that weighs down the heart. In the autumn of life, the mind naturally seeks clarity. It becomes weary of outer noise and begins to crave the inner silence where truth is most visible. This is not bitterness or withdrawal, it is a quiet homecoming. The Buddha's teachings offer us deep insight into this. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha spoke about the practice of mindfulness and guarding the mind from distraction. He didn't advocate solitude as a form of rejection, but as a space where insight can blossom like a lotus in still waters. With fewer social commitments and emotional dramas, we make space for deep self-awareness and calm observation. Like a calm lake that can reflect the sky only when undisturbed, our minds reflect wisdom best when quiet. Imagine your heart as that lake. Too many ripples, too much activity, only distorts the reflection of truth. Fewer friendships mean fewer emotional fluctuations, fewer misunderstandings, fewer pressures to be someone we're not. This isn't about becoming distant or unkind. It's about being intentional, choosing presence over performance, depth over density, essence over noise. It's a return to what truly matters. The Buddha encouraged his monks and followers to retreat into forests, not out of disdain for the world, but because nature's stillness mirrors the stillness within. Silence allows us to see ourselves more clearly. In your 60s, you are not withdrawing from the world, you are entering your own sacred forest, your own space of reflection and rest. This is where the heart heals and the soul breathes freely. Let the world whirl around you. Let the busyness of others pass like wind through trees. You are not falling behind, you are simply tuning in to something deeper, more lasting, and more real. And as you simplify your friendships, you do not become lonely, you become light. You are not cutting ties out of resentment, but clearing space for peace to enter. The few friendships that remain will be the ones that resonate with your spirit, not the noisy ones, but the nourishing ones. As we age, we are invited not to chase every connection or maintain every friendship out of habit. Instead, we are encouraged to listen to what our spirit now seeks: quiet, peace, and truth. By honoring this shift, we find not loss, but liberation. And in this sacred simplification, life becomes deeper, richer, and more beautifully our own. Let us now explore a gentle truth that often remains hidden until the later stages of life: how true companionship comes from within. This understanding emerges naturally as we examine the hidden weight of unbalanced friendships and find the courage to let go. When we begin releasing relationships that no longer serve our peace, we are not stepping into loneliness, we are stepping into presence. The greatest journey is not outward, seeking people to fill our time or emotions. The greatest journey is the one within, where the heart becomes both companion and comfort. In the teachings of the Buddha, the self is not a solid entity, but a flowing awareness, a conscious unfolding of experience. And through this awareness, a deep, peaceful companionship begins to blossom within us. Many monks throughout Buddhist history have lived alone in forests and mountains for decades without a single complaint of loneliness. Why? Because they were never truly alone. Their own minds became their companions. Their hearts overflowed with metta, loving kindness, for themselves and all beings. They cultivated a presence so rich, so whole, that solitude became sacred, not sorrowful. We, too, can learn from their way of being. Even in a small room, even amid the stillness of old age, we can find this inner companion. It begins by treating ourselves with the same care we once gave others, sitting quietly, breathing gently, placing a hand over the heart and remembering, we are here, we are alive, and we are enough. The Buddha once said, "Be a lamp unto yourself." And in our later years, this becomes not just advice, but a profound truth. We no longer seek others to mirror our light. We become our own source of warmth and guidance. When we walk with peace. When we eat with awareness. When we rest with quiet gratitude. Life shifts from being a performance to becoming a meditation. And this inner stillness enriches even the few connections that may remain. If friends are present, we welcome them with openness. If they fade, we release them with compassion. Because our contentment is no longer tied to how others behave or whether they stay, it is anchored in the calm center of our being. True companionship, the kind that never leaves, never fades, is the companionship we find within ourselves. It does not depend on validation, attention, or agreement. It is steady, nurturing, and always available to us. A beautiful real-life story mirrors this truth. In a small village in northern Thailand lived an elderly woman named Mainwan. Her children had long moved away, her husband had passed on, and neighbors often worried that she was lonely. But each day, Mainwan would rise before the sun, light incense at her small altar, and sit silently with a soft smile. When asked if she ever felt alone, she would gently laugh and say, "Why would I feel alone? I have my breath, my Buddha, and my heart." In her later years, she became known as the village's quiet teacher, not because she gave sermons, but because her peace spoke louder than words. Children would come sit beside her. Young couples sought her blessing. Travelers paused to watch her stillness. She had found the deepest of friendships, one with herself, and it radiated outward like a lantern in the night. Her story reminds us that we do not need a crowd to feel complete. When we let go of unbalanced friendships and stop seeking ourselves in others, we create space for something far more precious: inner companionship, born from mindfulness, nurtured by compassion, and sustained by presence. This is the relationship that will walk with us through every season of life, never asking for anything, yet always offering everything. Let us now turn to a truth that quietly waits beneath the surface of many hearts: the incredible freedom that comes from embracing solitude. As we reflect on the hidden weight of unbalanced friendships and how to let go, we naturally arrive at this serene destination, where silence becomes our sanctuary and being alone no longer feels like a loss, but like liberation. Solitude, once feared or avoided, slowly becomes cherished. It is no longer seen as emptiness but as fullness without noise, where nothing is demanded and yet everything is received: clarity, rest, silence, and truth. In the stillness of solitude, you finally begin to hear the soft whispers of your soul, the ones drowned out by years of noise, roles, and relationships. The Buddha himself often withdrew into forests, not to escape others but to meet himself more deeply. He sat under trees in profound silence, knowing that solitude was not separation, it was communion with the truth. Likewise, you do not need distant jungles or holy caves to experience this. You need only to step into the quiet corners of your own life, where peace already waits. Real freedom is found when there is no need to entertain, to explain yourself, or to adjust your being for the comfort of others. In solitude, you move at your own pace, breathe with awareness, and honor your own rhythm. The constant tug of other people's needs, opinions, and expectations gently fades. What remains is simplicity, pure, present, and complete. And in that simplicity, something beautiful happens. The world softens. You begin to see more clearly, love more deeply, forgive more easily. You are no longer entangled, no longer a captive of the social currents that once drained your spirit. You become a gentle witness to life, observing its beauty with calm detachment rather than clinging or resistance. Solitude, then, becomes a great teacher. It teaches us that joy is not dependent on others. That peace is not the absence of sound but the presence of stillness. That truth is not spoken loudly but heard quietly. A real story from the heart of America mirrors this lesson. In rural Vermont, a retired school librarian named Grace found herself living alone after her husband passed away and her 2 daughters moved to opposite coasts. At first, the silence felt sharp, like an absence too heavy to bear. But over time, Grace began to turn inward. She created a gentle rhythm to her days: morning tea on the porch, reading poetry aloud to herself, walking through the woods with a notebook in her pocket. Slowly, her loneliness gave way to something else. She began to feel deeply connected, not to people, but to the trees, the wind, the flickering candlelight at dusk. She said in a local radio interview, "For the first time, I feel like I belong to myself." Neighbors noticed a change in her, a quiet confidence, a gentle light in her eyes. She had not isolated, she had integrated. Grace had discovered that solitude was not a punishment, but a profound gift. Her story teaches us that when we release the weight of unbalanced friendships and stop fearing our own company, we open the door to a relationship that is both intimate and infinite, the one we have with our innermost self. Let the quiet be your companion. Let the stillness guide you home. Within this gentle embrace of solitude, inner peace is no longer a distant dream, it becomes your lived reality, inevitable and deeply deserved. As we come to the end of this reflection, we find ourselves in a sacred space of understanding, where the journey toward peace and acceptance in the later years of life becomes clearer. This is a time of quiet wisdom, where every moment holds an invitation to return to your true nature. In this stage, you are no longer defined by the number of friends you have, the social engagements on your calendar, or the expectations others place upon you. You are free in a way that only comes with age. Free to rest when needed, free to reflect without the distractions of a busy life, and free to simply be, without the pressure of living up to others' expectations. This freedom is a precious gift, one that allows you to embrace the stillness within. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that the path to inner peace and contentment is not found in accumulating more, whether that be more possessions, more friendships, or more achievements. True peace, according to the Buddha, comes through release. Letting go of unnecessary attachments, whether those be physical belongings, old roles, or unbalanced relationships, allows the soul to breathe, the mind to settle, and the heart to heal. This is not an act of selfishness, but of profound wisdom. By releasing what no longer serves you, you open yourself to the space needed for self-reflection and growth. It is through this release that you can begin to embrace the true essence of who you are without the distractions of the external world. As you move forward in life, particularly as you enter your 60s or beyond, you may find that you no longer need friendships in the same way that you once did. In your younger years, friendships may have been a source of comfort, connection, and even validation. But as you grow older, the need for external validation diminishes. What you need now is space, the space to breathe freely, to sit in silence, to reflect on your life, and to reconnect with your own inner truth. What you need is stillness, stillness to meet yourself with kindness, to embrace your own rhythm, and to honor your unique journey. And above all, you need sincerity, the sincerity to recognize that you are whole, just as you are, without the need for anyone else to complete you. The Buddha often spoke of the importance of solitude, not as a form of isolation, but as a path to deepening insight and understanding. He retreated into forests, sat under trees in silent meditation, and spent time alone, not because he disliked people, but because solitude provided him with the clarity necessary to uncover the truth of existence. In your later years, you too can find this clarity, not in faraway jungles, but in the quiet corners of your own life. Solitude offers a unique opportunity for deep reflection, a time when you can listen to the whispers of your soul and hear the subtle truths that often go unnoticed amidst the noise of daily life. This solitude is not a punishment, but a refuge, a place where you can connect with your true self without distraction. As you embrace this solitude, you will begin to realize that the world around you softens. The outer noise, once so demanding, fades into the background. You see more clearly, love more deeply, and forgive more easily. In solitude, you become a witness to life rather than its captive. You are no longer bound by the demands of others or the distractions of the world. Instead, you move at your own pace, listening to your breath, honoring your rhythm, and finding peace in the simplicity of being. The freedom that comes with embracing solitude is profound. It allows you to see life as it truly is, unclouded by the constant need for external approval or validation. Let the quiet be your teacher. Let stillness be your sanctuary. In this space, inner peace is not just possible, it becomes inevitable. As you navigate the challenges and joys of aging, you will come to understand that true companionship does not come from others but from within. The most important relationship you will ever have is the one with yourself. And when you cultivate self-compassion and inner peace, every external relationship becomes more meaningful. If friends remain in your life, they are welcomed with openness and joy. If they fade, you let them go with love and gratitude. You no longer cling to relationships out of fear or obligation, but instead embrace them with a sense of ease and acceptance. The core of your contentment is no longer dependent on others, but on the deep sense of peace you have cultivated within. This inner companionship is the most stable and lasting relationship you can have. It does not require attention, reciprocation, or constant maintenance. It is always available, always nurturing, and always present. It is the companion that never leaves, the friend who is always by your side, offering comfort, clarity, and support whenever you need it. And as you deepen your connection with yourself, you will find that you no longer feel the need to entertain, explain, or adjust to others' expectations. You are free to be yourself, fully and completely, without the pressure of pleasing anyone else. As we conclude this reflection, I invite you to carry this message with you as you continue on your journey. You are whole, just as you are. You are worthy of peace and contentment. You do not need to be defined by the number of friendships you have or the social engagements you maintain. You are enough, and in this space of inner peace and solitude, you will find the freedom to be yourself in the truest sense. If today's message has brought you comfort, clarity, or calm, I encourage you to subscribe to Mindful Pathway Media. Join our growing community of like-minded individuals who are seeking peace, insight, and wisdom in their lives. Like this video if it resonated with you, and leave a comment sharing your thoughts. Your experiences may help someone else who is on a similar path. If you feel this message could benefit someone you care about, share it with them. Perhaps they, too, are seeking peace in the solitude of aging. Together, we can create a space where we embrace the stillness and wisdom that comes with age, and walk the path of mindful living with grace, compassion, and clarity. May your days ahead be filled with light and peace. May your nights be quiet and restful. And may you walk the rest of your journey with wisdom, compassion, and an unshakable peace that is rooted in your true self. And may you always find the freedom to walk your path in the Dharma,